Welcome back to the Movie Well Marathon. I'm Andrew.
And I,
Heck yeah. I say that every single time. I'm finding when I listen back to these, it's just so
Mhm,
natural, like just in the
mhm.
conversation. But like watching them back to back to back, I bet that's really annoying. So I gotta say like something else.
Just because it's the same.
I guess because like I didn't mean it to be. It's not like it was not intentional to say heck yeah every single time like that. I
Oh,
I did not mean to say that after you say and I'm Mac. It's just so
that didn't
natural
even
to say.
register.
Yeah, like, well, like because we talk once a week, so like you don't remember it. But
Right.
when I edit these in bulk, it's just like I'm Andrew and I'm Mac. Heck yeah, just like every single time.
The honorary third member.
Honorary, yeah, heck yeah. Anyway, we're on Superman Returns, directed by Bryan Singer, came out June 28th,
Mhm,
2006. This movie is almost
mhm.
20 years old. Ew.
Crazy.
Yeah. Starring, of course, are Brandon Routh, Kate Bosworth,
Mhm.
Kevin Spacey, ew, James Marsden, Parker Posey,
Poor
Sam
Marston.
Huntington. Sorry, what?
We'll talk about it, but
Okay.
I feel bad for Marston.
uh, and Frank Langella, and a handful of others. Yeah, so we can get into more details as we go. So, yeah. I
Face. What are you thinking?
yeah. So I don't even know, man. Like I don't. So this is like a, in my mind, an off-brand root beer. Like I'll drink it. It's fine if it's at the cookout or the picnic, but
Mhm.
would I ever really pick it? No. Oh, well,
Mhm.
what's wrong with it? I don't know. It's not a better root beer. Like I can.
Okay, but like, what root beer are you comparing this to?
Well, I think there's at least one better Superman movie that this movie is softly rebooting, and it's doing those
Yeah.
things not as good. So I don't. Look, there are things about this movie I like genuinely.
Mhm.
There
Mhm.
are not many things that I like hate like at all. I just don't. I find it so weirdly underwhelming. Yet at the same
Mm.
time, incredibly earnest. We're like
Mm. Mhm.
it's if another comparison with one of my dumb little metaphors. It's like a little kid's drawing. I can't say it sucks, even though it's not good. If that makes any sense. So
I think the root beer analogy made more sense
makes a
to
little more sense. Okay,
me.
I guess
Yeah.
like a quick positive. Brandon's crushing it. I think
Yeah.
he's great. He was great casting. I think he does.
All the casting, honestly, was
I
pretty good.
I would say the rest of the casting is fine, but Brandon as Clark, and then what's his name as Jimmy, those are pretty great.
Mhm.
Yeah, Sam
Mhm.
Huntington, and then again, ew, but Kevin Spacey as Luthor was pretty fun. The others are fine.
Mhm.
But I think Brandon is definitely he's great. He sounds like Christopher Reeve in many places. I think he's a better Clark Kent than he is a Superman, just because I think he embodies Clark just almost naturally. Um,
Yeah, I'd agree.
a couple of things where I'm a petty bitch about. I hate the suit. I hate it.
Yeah, the
Um,
suit's not it's not great. I
I
don't hate it, but
I
it's
hate
clearly
it.
not as good as some of the other
Yeah,
iterations.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. We can get into more of it later on. Um, I don't love this weird soft reboot thing we're doing.
I
We're
was
kind of
torn on that. I wasn't sure. A lot of the parallels seemed kind of like fun and like Force Awakens style stuff. But then
Force
like a
Awakens
lot
is
of it
still a
just kind of
sequel though.
it felt a little forced at times, some of the parallels. Like the fact that, I mean, the end game being destroying landmass so you could
Yeah,
have real
exactly.
estate.
Well,
That was rough.
it's kind of confusing first go around, right? If you don't Google it, especially if you're just going into it in 2006, and Jor-El is the same guy with the same narration, the same theme song, the same like opening kind of credits. The Fortress of Solitude looks very
Hmm.
similar. They've referenced all these things. You'd think this is a follow-up to or at least loosely connected to the same series of Superman. No, it's not. It's a reboot. This is a full-on reboot. This is not a sequel to the other movies. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's weird because it can't be. Superman takes place in 1978. This takes place in 2006. That's not, like, he would be, they'd all be way, way older. Like, so.
Yeah. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about the timeline of it all.
Yeah, well, I was trying to pay attention to it because I couldn't recall from the last time I saw this. But, like, yeah, they've got cell phones. They've got technology that's different. Like, they're referencing different things in a way that, like, and I looked into it because I wanted confirmation. I didn't want to just talk out of my ass. This is a sequel in spirit to Superman 1 and Superman 2. It ignores 3 and 4 completely, and it's loosely implied to have similar events to Superman 1 and 2, but we don't know what they are. We don't know if Superman...
That explains a lot to me, actually, in the sense of, like, just timing-wise.
Yeah. But it's also, like...
With him and Lois more than anything.
Right, but does he still have memory erasing kiss powers? Because they've done it. We know they've done it. We have the proof. But she doesn't know who Clark is in that Superman way, you know? Like, and, of course, right off the bat, I'm pretty sure they referenced in Superman 3 or 4 that his mother died. Clearly, we're not doing that anymore because she's around. So, and then Kitty references that Luthor has been to the fortress before and so on and so, like, things have happened, but we don't know what. So that's a little weird. I kind of, like, make a sequel or make a new one, you know? Like, it's strange.
I don't know. I know we literally just had a conversation before we started this conversation about how, like, comic continuity bothers me. I kind of like the way this movie does it because the vagueness allows for you to make connections without getting the exact like in order to, like, fully make connections or to fully reboot would be, I feel like, kind of weird. Like, to fully reboot is to ignore the precedent created by the first movie, at least. And I think it's very clear they wanted to preserve as much as they could from the first movie in the style of what they were making, while updating it to sort of like a modern era. Like, the way that the characters interact with each other feels very similar to the first sort of form. But they, like, what was I said? I wrote down a note here about how they're doing a really good job with making the world feel connected to the previous films, but the characters feel stronger and fresher than they did in the original films. I feel like Lex's version in this film is way more the Lex Luthor than I know. The version of Superman we get in this is pretty good. Actually, the two weakest might have actually been Superman and Lois, not because they weren't good, just because their whole love story thing makes them act out of character, I would argue. And I don't know. I guess I kind of like that it's a little bit referencey to the past without totally nailing down exactly what they mean. Because I could imagine that, like, the first two films, maybe we want to take roughly what happened in those without committing to the actual events. And so we just say something like that happened and we're moving on.
Sure, but, like,
I'm okay with that.
There's a difference between, you know, like, Spider-Man Homecoming not being an origin anymore because we know the hits. We know that Ben died. We know he got bit by a spider. Like, we know that Krypton blew up. We know that he was sent to Kansas. All that. That's fine. That's okay. But then you open the movie with Krypton's sun exploding, not the planet exploding. That sets the tone that this is something different. Then you play the classic John Williams theme. That's not a comic book thing. That's a movie thing. And it's like, okay, so is this now a sequel to the existing series of movies? Then you introduce his mom. Like, oh, okay, for us Superman nerds, we know this is not a continuation. Then in the Fortress of Solitude, we see Jor-El with the same narration. Like, okay, so this is a continuation. Like, you gotta, I think, for cohesion, or at least a decisive message, or I can't think of the right word, presentation, you kind of got to pick one. Because like to play the hits, that's fine. To have implied, like, yes, we have history with Luthor, fine. We have a history of a love, background with Lois, that's fine, that's classic. But like this like, well, did Superman do this from Superman 1 or 2? I don't know. Maybe. What do you think? You decide, guys. You decide. Like, that's weird. That's a strange decision. Like, we're it's long enough now that you could have just made a new Superman movie and you could have started somewhere in the middle of his journey. They're doing it now and it looks great. Like we're gonna get references to the hits, but it's not gonna be Superman 8. It's a new one. I just think it's a strange decision because they're also, like you said, Force Awakens style, doing the same things in some places where it feels like a reboot, but because it's also maybe a sequel, it's like, well, okay, why are we doing the same thing then if this is meant to be maybe a new movie? So,
well, a lot of the lines that were direct tiebacks to the first one were lines that were said and delivered in such a way that indicated it was kind of like an inside joke. Like flying is still statistically the safest way to travel. The way he says that almost kind of feels like a message to Lois, like, I see you.
Yeah.
I miss you. I gotta go. He's trying to play up their connection. And that only works if he has previously said that line to her, in which we as an audience connect to the first one. But I guess if what you're saying is it bothers you that you don't know exactly in which that context was said in this timeline, because you don't know for sure whether or not Lois and Superman met with that helicopter crash.
Yeah, and we don't. It does bother me. It's a weird decision to. I think in some ways it feels lazy because it's also Bryan Singer and he did some of the X-Men movies, so it's consistent with his style of filmmaking, which is like, you don't really need to worry about what the last films did. Like, it doesn't matter at all. We're just gonna use the same theme song and the same font and the same ideas and some of the same actors, but it's a completely different universe and we're doing a completely different thing. Like, cool, dude. But anyway,
to be fair, if they did this for more than one movie, especially if it weren't like if it didn't feel like a new thing, I would be irritated by it. Like the X-Men movies irritate me because they're like trying to do the same thing but also totally not the same thing multiple times in a row.
Yeah.
That's annoying. I feel like this to me was almost like a take advantage of the moment we have in the Superman franchise to connect back to the significant elements of Superman without like doing them again. But I don't know. My point is I can see why you'd be irritated by it. It doesn't bother me as much as I would expect in this film for some reason.
All right, fair enough. Well, what are some of your positives then?
I feel like there's a lot of attention to detail. The visuals are really good, and for being almost 20 years old, like you can see the effects, but it still looks nice. Especially the opening. Like the opening caught my eye. I was like, okay, because they very beautifully melded the sort of practical feel of like ice glacier Krypton, and then pulled out for this beautiful like CGI sun explosion thing. And I do feel a little odd about New York's very kind of Gotham feel. What was it?
Metropolis.
Oh yeah, Metropolis.
You said
My
New
bad.
York. This is also the first Superman movie in which it actually is Metropolis.
That's true, because there weren't World Trade Center.
Yeah, and the Statue of Liberty everywhere. So yeah.
Yeah. So Metropolis, actual Metropolis this time, which just maybe explains why they made it kind of gothic-y. I mean, Batman Begins came out, 2005?
Yeah.
So, like, they're clearly trying, I think, to connect it in world that sort of way, kind of borrow the design elements from an existing superhero film in that decade. But, I think it works at the end of the day because they focus pretty heavily on like the bronze kind of goldish color palette. So it ends up looking kind of warm rather than cold. It does do, like, most of the film has really heavy color filters on it, which is not my favorite
Mm-hmm.
design choice for cinematography, but everything blends really well together. Not, in a superhero movie, it can feel really easy. Like, it can be really easy to create design elements that stand out from one another in a bad way, where it looks like it doesn't
Yeah.
really belong in the world that it's being filmed in. But I don't feel like anything was like that in this film. Everything blended really well together that you would believe that it all exists in the same world. Um, and I did like Lex better. I thought this version of Lex Luthor, even though the the opening of the character is very
Weird,
disturbing and
disturbing,
deceptive.
hardcore exposition. It's a little rough.
Yeah,
Also,
yeah.
apparently that actor, the old lady, that lady, she played Lois in the 1948 like black and white Superman.
Oh, that's weird. I mean, it's an Easter egg, so it's not meant to be,
Yeah,
but
but interesting
weird.
choice. Yeah.
Um,
I
I
couldn't you have I feel like there's a long list of ways in which Luthor could have acquired funds, resources. That's really low on the list. You know? Do we have to
I
go with
don't
that one?
imagine that Lex Luthor would very often be someone who would essentially wed a woman to take her money. I don't know that I would put it past him though.
Yes, but like when you're a filmmaker, you are like god of that universe. Like you didn't have to pick that. Like it wasn't like, oh, my hands are
Honestly,
tied. That's where
my
Luthor's path
choice
led him.
my choice is very easily just that he has illegal money somewhere that he cleaned through some dumb standard and now he has money again.
Yeah, like
Yeah, that would be what I do.
yeah.
Um, but then we want to get the whole thing with the dogs eating each other.
Oh yeah, we really need that.
I don't know. The even though it ended up just being dumb foreshadowing for them needing to maybe eat the dog on the island, um, I thought it was kind of funny that what's her name, Kitty, ended up
Kitty.
like holding the dog the whole time, clutching
Yeah.
it for comfort to her, and I'm like, that feels very representative of her relationship with Luther, where like she at the end she does get kind of like weepy and teary eyed, and she feels bad for people, and she kind of does this act of rebellion that really wouldn't work, but we'll get there. And so like there's some sympathy there, but I feel like she doesn't, maybe with the exception of dropping the crystals, she doesn't actually do anything with those emotions. She just sits and feels bad about
Mm-hmm.
things. And
Mm-hmm.
I felt like the fact that she was still like clutching to the dog that ate the other dog is very
Uh-huh.
representative of how she's like holding to something that's evil for comfort.
Oh, that's
Like,
fair. Interesting.
yeah,
For
it was, that's
survival.
what I was thinking.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, survival or just sort of like, you know, she's the one that recognizes that there used to be two of the dogs there,
Right,
and the dog
right.
is sitting clearly in the carcass of the other
Yeah,
dog, and then she
yes.
decides to make a pet out of that thing. I
Yeah.
don't know. I feel like it's actually kind of condemning of the character.
Interesting. I had never thought about it like that. Since you mentioned that island thing though, I'm like 90-10 on that ending in general
Mm-hmm.
because on one hand it's funny that he ends up on this tiny little island, which is what he wanted. So ha 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 ha
Mm-hmm.
ha ha ha. But I was excited to see a Luthor that wasn't a cartoonish villain. And he
Yeah, and then he ends up
isn't
in a cartoon
until he
punishment. Yeah,
ends on this. Yeah, like that's so cartoonish to end up on a tiny perfect little island with palm trees. Why didn't you just go back to the mainland? You were like 3 miles off the coast and no
yeah,
one is after you. Like
yeah.
just what anyway. 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 We're a little all over the
um,
place, as is we are
we
wont
are.
to
We
do.
should come back to the beginning a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm also
I
a
do
little
feel like I was torn, but I do feel like it's in character for Superman to leave to find the ruins of Krypton. I think he would do it.
I'm mixed on that honestly because
I think he would.
well, okay, so hear me out. So
Hmm.
first, we don't have all of the information unfortunately. I don't know if this is canon or not, but supposedly Luthor fabricated that evidence that astronomers
No.
found Krypton to encourage Superman to leave, which just says to me he didn't dig into that at all and
Didn't know
just
that.
yeah. But let's say he didn't do it. Let's say astronomers think they found a planet where
Mhm.
Krypton was supposed to be. Could he not just look in that general direction with his supervision and maybe see it? Let's say he can't. Let's say it's too far.
I
Let's
don't
say
think
let's say
so. Yeah.
he's got like microscopic vision. He can look at atoms. I feel like he could anyway.
Sure, but that's
Anyway,
not no.
anyway. Let's say he can't. With his advanced alien technology at the North Pole, could they not help with that? It's a deleted scene, but I'm gonna say it is canon because of the way this film does open. It makes a spaceship for him to
Mhm.
take to go see the ruins.
Mhm.
Could it have not made a better telescope? Like if Earth has telescopes that can maybe see where it is,
Mm.
can Kryptonian technology not make a better telescope? Like, did you have to travel all that way?
I
Like,
mean, I don't feel like this whole idea of just like opening a window to see Krypton. I don't feel like that really works for this.
I I
I
just feel like the way it's implied is astronomers are like, "Hey, we think this is here." And Superman took that and ran with it. We didn't do any
If
research.
you're assuming that he didn't think at all,
I don't
then
think
of
he thought
course
at
it's going to
all.
be out of character. But I think he
I
did.
don't think he
He had
did.
to build a spaceship.
Yeah,
He's a thoughtful character. He doesn't just do dumb stuff.
except he didn't tell anybody what he was doing and abandoned Earth for a I don't know, maybe. Like that's what he left for. That's not great.
I wasn't under the impression that he was going to just like move to Krypton if some people had survived there.
What is it? What his trip was like at least
Mhm.
3 years the first time.
Mhm.
It was gonna be that again. So
Mhm.
you just abandoned everybody for like I totally understand Lois's perspective of being pissed off. Like it's a
Sure.
real cop out to just be like, oh, it was too difficult of me to say anything, and so I just left. Like that's dumb. That's just dumb. I don't buy that. I just don't. I really, really don't. And then on top of all of that, I'm genuinely confused as to what's happening when he lands. Why is he disheveled and in pain? Why did the ship crash? Like, there could be any reason of things that could happen in
Yeah.
space. I don't accept just that, though. This is a cool Superman movie. He was traveling in space and he crashes. What caused that? It's you
I
built
mean,
a spaceship out of your fortress that took you all the way to where Krypton is. Awesome, that's cool. That tells us you can't just go out in space by yourself like some Supermen. That's fine. So you got your ship. Your ship is good. Your ship works. So why now is it not? Like again, it's part of that soft reboot thing. We wanted to have Superman crash. We wanted to have his mom find him in the cornfield. We wanted to recreate that. But it's I don't think it's unfair to ask why did you crash the ship? What happened? Look, what's going on? Nothing. Never talk about that
I
again.
mean,
That's whatever.
we don't, but I feel like it's pretty simple to explain in the sense that he had years of exposure to arguably not yellow suns.
So
So he was probably pretty mortal, and the ship was probably made for Superman. Dumb design choice, if that's true. But like, even let's say the ship was designed for him to be very human-like in terms of his constitution and needs, right? Then in that case, it would create some sort of sleep chamber for him, which would be something that would be hard for him to wake up from.
I guess I don't know. I just feel like it was a weird decision. I think it's a decision made out of wanting to create callbacks and visual metaphors,
Hmm.
and there's no thought into why it's happening. And I still consider that lazy filmmaking. I don't generally like that. We're getting that again in the James Gunn one, It's quick and it's brief. It's how they put together the first trailer of him crashing and all this, but like there's reasons for it. Like it's not just he just crash lands because like. So I know no one cares about that, but I don't think it's unfair to ask. But we can move on because we're already at 25 minutes. That's another thing, real quick. This movie's 2.5 hours long, and I don't fully understand how. Because a lot like the first Superman movie, it doesn't feel like a lot happens. I'm not necessarily bored. I mean, in some places it's a little slow, but I don't think it needed to be that long.
I could see it trimming up a little bit, but not without losing character beats that I think do end up being important for you to get the full story. Like they have a lot of characters they're juggling, and the character arcs of those characters are significant. The only one they could maybe drop would be Kitty. But Lex's character arc is significant. Lois is significant. I would argue that her guy Richard is significant.
Sure.
Clark is significant, and that's just what 4 or 5, and we haven't even talked about the kid.
Yeah,
the kid should have more of an arc, actually, if we're being honest.
Well, he was probably gonna get more,
but they have
sequel.
a little. Yeah, that, and I think they were a little anxious about their kid actor. He's very clearly a kid actor. He's very sweet, but
he's a little guy.
He's a kid. Yeah.
I like to think that he's sick because of like the Kryptonian physiology. Like he needs eye drops because his eyes are dry because of the heat vision. Maybe like his lungs are developing. So I don't know. It may not even be that because like Clark's powers don't manifest until he was a little older. So
yeah, I kind of rationalized it in the sense that it was the Kryptonian and the human DNA blending. Yeah. Like, of course, there's going to be a longer like recovery or initiation period because the body is adjusting to itself for a longer period of time. Or like, if everything in a Kryptonian is superpowered and tough, maybe the heat vision doesn't bother a Kryptonian under a yellow sun, but it might bother a human Kryptonian hybrid. Like there's downsides to Superman's powers the kid might experience that Superman doesn't experience. Sure. Plenty of reasons for the kid to be a little sickly. Although I will say, I don't know how I haven't had this spoiled for me. I didn't see it coming.
You didn't know that was his kid?
I didn't know that was his kid.
Have you never seen this movie?
I've never seen this movie.
You've never seen Superman Returns until now?
No.
I had no idea. I just assumed. I should have listened more to your opening points. How? Never in 20 years. Wow. Okay.
It was never the version that was ever on TV or available for me.
For me, it was on TV all the time. That's why I've seen it so many times.
I'm pretty sure I have seen clips of it before because some of the set pieces and some of the like just moments felt familiar, but I had never seen enough of it to really know the story.
Okay, fresh eyes. Tell me what you thought of all that. I want to what was the experience like? Like, did you think it was like, oh, it's definitely his kid? Or when Lex brought it up, were you like, oh my God, is he his kid? Or did you really need the whole piano?
Okay, I went back and forth a little bit because I didn't question it at all that Lois had like a serious fiance and had a kid with that fiance. I was like, it's been 5 years. She's, would have a romantic relationship outside that. Things happen. They seem pretty happy. I had no questions, no concerns, no thoughts about it, right? And I actually kind of hoped that the kid would like. That's honestly up there in terms of things that I would change if I were in charge of this movie. I would have had Jason, right? Jason. I would have had Jason foil Clark's secret identity for Lois. Like at the end of the film, 100% would have done that.
That's funny.
Because he saw him for a moment. He saw it when Superman was on the news. But Clark, he's like, "That's you." Yeah. I would have had it to happen anyway. So that was the twist I was waiting for with the kid. Like that's what I thought they were doing with the kid. And as it turns out, nope, that's Superman's kid. And when I didn't think about it at all until Lex said something. And when Lex said something, I went, they wouldn't drop something like that unless it were true. Unless they were trying to keep me distracted from something else. I don't think that's the case. And then my immediate thought was, oh my gosh, does she know? And she's slightly poisoning him with kryptonite. Is that why he has health issues? So he wouldn't develop powers? What is going on?
Oh my
I
god.
was like, I was jumping to all the conclusions. And the acting was really good in that scene. It was pretty clear that Lois, her expression was, I can't say anything because I think if I lie, he'll know immediately. And they didn't keep the camera on her face very long, which is a good directing choice because she was acting it so well that it would have become really obvious if they had stayed much longer. But I was prepared for it to be a surprising red herring until the piano moment. And then I went, okay, they're committing to this, which is honestly, they committed a little too early. Because him not being able to get them out of the pantry, I think, is a problem. If he can see his mother in physical distress, and then she's very clearly still in distress while in the pantry, and he's not able to, like, even try, the kid's old enough to know what the situation is. Like, he's not 2, right? He may not understand the whole big picture, but he knows they're in danger, and he knows that if he's supposed to do something to help, that he can. And he doesn't. Yeah. And I think that's a writing flaw, actually. I think I would have saved his act of heroism until a little bit closer. Maybe make it so it's clear that he has some sort of superhuman ability, but maybe it wasn't enough to save them. I don't know. I think it ends up being really good that Richard's character, because Superman is Superman, he has to go and save the city first, right? That's
a cool sequence.
How it works. And then Richard, because he can prioritize Lois, gets there first. And if he hadn't gotten there, they would have died. But because he gets there, they don't die. But they aren't saved either, because he's just not quite enough. And it requires Superman to, like, lift them out together. Like, it required a team effort to get them out alive, the kid and Lois. That's actually a really excellent piece of writing. It's really good. In fact, the way they handle Richard's character overall is actually pretty good. I was very irritated when they first introduced it, especially because it's James Marsden.
Yeah.
One. He's always the guy who is in a perfectly fine relationship with a woman. She's just not in love with him.
Never.
And it's the poor man. Like, and so I knew exactly where they were going the moment he was the actor for this. Also, they named him Richard.
He's a dick.
Yeah, but he's not.
I know. Slight Big Bang Theory Indiana Jones style note. If he hadn't shown up to help, Lois and Jason actually would have been better off.
Because she wouldn't be unconscious because he hadn't opened the door?
Yeah.
But they, like, I don't know if that's necessarily true.
Yeah,
in the sense,
because Jason wasn't going to do anything, either because of bad writing or because he's 5 and he's scared and embarrassed or worried because he just killed somebody and he doesn't really know how to work his powers. Clearly, I like to think it's a spike of adrenaline,
instinctive,
or something like that. Sure. And when the boat rises up and then cracks in half and falls down, it's filling up with water because the door is open. Once it closes, it stops filling up with water. So Superman would have found Lois and Jason at the bottom of the kitchen and just would have saved them. And she wouldn't have been in... Like, I do like Richard. I really do. He's a great character. He's a great dad. He's a cool boss. Like, he's great. I love all that. But he's saving Lois from a situation he put her in that moment.
I mean,
and then he's just
while
there
trying to save her from the situation, the dangerous situation that she is in.
No, sure. But
it's not like he created the problem. No. He just happened to.
Right, but the reason that she ends up needing saving in that way later, like the only reason he saves her is because of a thing he did. So
okay, but then later Superman very much needs them in their plane in order to live.
That's all good and fine.
I do see what you're saying in terms of the sense of maybe he did accidentally raise the stakes there for a second.
Sure.
But
yes,
overall the writing is pretty solid, I think, with the sort of like tag teaming almost element between him, like Superman and Richard. It kind of works. It's so much so to the point where, especially at the end, where Superman like knows about the parentage but doesn't really do anything about the parentage. It almost sets them up for like a weird
It's weird.
stepdad
It's weird
situation, except for Lois is very clearly still in love with Superman and still doesn't know that he's Clark.
Yeah. He's raising someone else's kid, doesn't even know it. Oh, it's such a mess. It's such a mess. Also, Superman, stop creeping on their house. You're spying on them.
No,
you're breaking into their...
I was not happy with
it's too much.
In fact, they almost Great Gatsby him.
A little.
In the sense that there's this slightly unhappy family across a body of water in a New York-like city, and he is getting a little stalkery, and he wants the wife, right?
We're real liberal with the X-ray vision this time around, I must say.
Yeah.
A little too much. Clark.
And I think that actually gets close to what I was saying about Lois and Clark's characters in this film. Like, most of it is fine. But the way that they act about each other is weird. We've never seen them in this world in a relationship.
Yeah.
Like, Superman and Lois have always had a flirty, romantic, intense interest in the other person. Maybe situationship, we want to call it that. But to Lois's memory, assuming Lois's memory is...
Who fucking knows, man? Who knows?
They've never actually been a couple.
No. They've just had some
for
fun.
Him to be, like, jealous and for Lois to be, like, heartbroken, you have to kind of assume they were both living under the impression they were really important to each other but never saying anything about it. It's very ambiguous. In fact, the conference, like, even at the end when they make eye contact and she knows he knows and they all know that they know, and she's like, will we see you? And he's like, I'm always around. You still don't know the true identity of your son's father, and he's actually around to ask about that, and you as a journalist aren't going to ask. We're not going to have a conversation about the fact that there's going to be, like, weird split parentage with this kid who still, again, does not know his actual father's actual name. Like, we need to have a conversation. I don't care exactly how it shakes out. We can keep the weird stepfather situation going on if that's what we want to do. I think that's fine, but, like, we have to sit down and actually have a conversation about this. And it is not okay to be like, I'm around and fly off into the night. I
was saying the same thing. It's like, do you want to talk about, like, custody? Like, when are you going to be around? Yeah. Like, do I have to worry about him burning the house down? Like, what's going on? Also, we need to admit that I'm lying to the man I'm living with, because he asked me if I was in love with Superman. And even though that pause was way too long and speaks for itself, let's just say we ignore it. And that conversation goes, were you in love with Superman? No, I just had a kid with him. It's like, oh, okay. That's fine. No biggie.
That it was his kid.
Yeah. Yeah. So see, this, again, there's some really cool stuff about this movie that I like, but it's bogged down by a lot of stuff where it's just like, what would make this visually cool? What would make this kind of dramatic to watch?
There's a lot of visually cool stuff. Like, the whole sequence of the plane is honestly awesome.
I love the plane catch, all that. With the way it buckles when he catches it and it crinkles up in the nose and him flying around. All that's great. I will say, though, because this is the first time we see it in this movie, this is the worst visual representation of heat vision I think I've ever seen. It's terrible. I hate it. It's lame. Like it. And the first time they show it, the way his face is lined up, when I saw this and I was younger, I thought he was exhaling out of his nose really hard to help lift the spaceship, because the laser vision, it lines up with his nostrils the first time he uses it, and he, like, tenses up, and I thought I was like, that doesn't make any sense, because, like, when you're not, if you're not paying attention or you don't have, like, a really great TV, you don't see that he's lasering the other couplings on the rocket. Because the laser vision is so, I don't know.
I mean, I got it.
You're an adult. I'm saying when I was a child, I don't love how it looks this time around. Like, I think for some reason, how they do laser vision is a weird balance. And it doesn't help that we are joined in this movie by a guy who has laser vision, and they've done it fairly well every time he's been in it, and then he's in this movie,
Funny.
and this guy with laser vision is not up to par. So I guess he could say, Richard could say his lasers are bigger at the very least. Anyway, bad joke, low hanging fruit.
Okay.
Back to brass tacks. It's a little, I find, convenient time-wise when all this shit happens. Superman comes back, and within a couple of weeks of that happening, Luthor got money again, broke into the Fortress of Solitude. I say very loosely because apparently there's no security here in this fortress at all whatsoever, even a little bit.
there weren't in the previous films, so I wouldn't be surprised.
It's 20 years later. You could have had them rappelling down from the top of it to show that it's hard to get in, so that maybe someone who could fly, it's easy, and regular people can't just walk in. Like, oh my god. Sure, that happens. He steals a crystal. He starts doing experiments and shit. And Lois ends up being in a life-threatening situation, all within the long weekend of Clark coming back.
Well, I mean, I will admit the experiment thing is a little, like, the escaping jail, getting money, experimenting, all that is a little coincidental. But Lois is directly in danger because of the experiment.
Which I do appreciate, because usually in a lesser movie, it would just happen to be that she's in danger. So I do like that. I just feel like it's still a bit much. Like, I don't think it would have been bad to say that Luthor had been experimenting on these crystals for like 3 years or something like that.
Sure.
But anyway, yeah, the flight catch sequence thing is cool. That's all good and fine. I do enjoy that. The saving the city sequence, that's pretty cool. I do enjoy that. The kind of domino effect of some of the threats is interesting, and I think it's fun. The crazy big machine gun and then the bullet to the eye, always a favorite. That's an awesome moment.
That was pretty good.
That's pretty good.
And like his little smirk afterwards.
His little smirk. Like... Oh yeah, that's pretty good. There's I guess, I don't know. It's cool that he lifts the island in the end, but
I actually felt like that was kind of an intellectually low move. He knows the island is made out of kryptonite, and if you were to drop or pass out while lifting the island as it goes up into space, that would create a much for those along the coastline, because there would be a tsunami. Like, there probably should have been a tsunami already. There would be a tsunami if he dropped it, you know? Kind of like how the Age of Ultron city thing was an issue.
Absolutely.
This is also an issue. But I guess I wasn't sure how he was going to fix the problem, and he has a history of just doing whatever he wants with tectonic plates because muscles, and I guess that continues the pattern.
I think the child in me thinks it's cool for Superman to lift an island, and because it's crystal, I'm okay with believing it stays in one piece mostly. It being made of kryptonite and him charging up for 10 seconds in the sun after being stabbed, I'm like, that seems like a bit much. Just a tad, you know? It's just, I found myself as well just exhausted at this point, thinking about like what I would do differently. I didn't do that at all for this, because I just feel like, again, this is one where I wouldn't have done anything the way they did it if I were to do this. I think it's boring to do Luthor just wanting to do land again, you know? Like, for a second, it's cool that there's kind of a confrontation on an island made of kryptonite to bring Superman down to their level. But then he just gets his ass kicked by a bunch of random thugs. Like, there's a part of Avengers, the Mightiest Heroes cartoon, where Captain America points out that Iron Man clearly doesn't know how to fight because he's just stronger than all the bad guys he fights when he's wearing the suit. And this made me feel like that. Like, Superman doesn't actually know how to fight anybody because he's stronger than them. So I don't know. it's all just nerdy rambles. I just feel like it creates the situation again somewhat where like if he can do that, he can lift an island. He should never struggle to do anything ever again. I like that when he's lifting half a boat, he looks like he's straining a bit. I'm like, okay, that's fine. We're grounding Soups just a little bit because, that's heavy. And we're pulling it out of the ocean. That's a lot. I'm okay with that. And then he lifts a landmass, and it's, he's sweating while he did oh, no, poor Superman. He pulled an Atlas, and then, he dies for 10 seconds and comes back. So I don't know. It's just, the ending feels a little weird. Even by comic book standards, it's a little underwhelming, and then it's a little bit tied up in a nice clean bow where, nothing's really changed. So I don't know. Is any of that fair?
We just shoot the problem off into space, and it's fine.
Uh-huh. Now, see, if Snyder directed this while he was lifting it up into space, they would have bombed him.
The Kryptonite has an Oh, whoa.
Sorry?
I think we had a disconnect.
I think there's a bit of a lag. I'll fix it
later. You asked if
later.
anything was fair. Okay. I think it is totally fair to say that Kryptonite has an unequal effect on Superman at different points in the film. When he first lands on the island full of Kryptonite, I was like, oh, so there's just not enough Kryptonite to make it so he can't fly? I was expecting him to get weaker and drop, noticeably drop power as he flew closer to the massive mass of Kryptonite, right? But then I went, oh, maybe grow into all Kryptonite. Maybe it's just protecting the core. But then very quickly it becomes obvious that no, it is a mass full of Kryptonite. And then I again had to adjust what I was thinking and be like, oh, maybe it just diluted the effects of Kryptonite, right? But then it's still strong enough for him to get beat up by the goons. Obviously, to the point where he looks really, really weak. I think generally Superman just sans powers is usually still a pretty strong dude. Maybe not built bodybuilder or anything. He's not been lifting necessarily, but he's still a 225-pound, 6-foot guy. He should be able to throw a punch. But he gets beat up to the extent where it looks like he's just a nerd on the playground. Yeah. It's pathetic, right? And then that same island is something that he's able to just lift up out of the water after having been stabbed with Kryptonite, and he still has a piece of it in his back. It's inconsistent as to what Kryptonite does to him in this film, and that does bother me. And that's why I think the lifting the island is a really big gamble, because the guy couldn't even fight off 3 goons while standing on that island.
Right.
And now he's going to dive under the water, dig into the body of the island and carry the entire Kryptonite landmass into space and not drop it. Okay.
Yeah. He should have flown into the sun first. I don't necessarily
believe that.
He should have supercharged, They should have included something crazy stupid like that. Or just not done the whole Luthor wants land again thing.
Yeah. The Luthor real estate thing is getting old. I can see, it's a little weird to me to criticize that because villains taking land from people is actually very relevant to real life villainy. But I feel like for Luthor to brutally destroy land so that he can acquire his own real estate and it's suddenly more valuable than other land, that's actually really brute force for Lex Luthor. If Lex Luthor wants a piece of land, he'll just buy up companies until he owns the company that owns the land, and then he'll have it. That's Lex Luthor's MO. So for me, it is weird for him to go through all these sort of mad scientist attempts to gather land and property when the Lex Luthor I know is more of I just, made some smart investments and suddenly I'm the majority shareholder of your company, or I just own it outright, That's the sort of Lex Luthor I'm still waiting to sort of appear on the screen. However, I stand by the fact that the mannerisms of this Lex Luthor and the general behavior was much better than the previous versions. I actually recognize Lex Luthor in this film.
But like again, a little bit. What is your thought process with this chunk of rock the size of Australia? You can't grow anything on this stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't look nice. You're like, we're gonna live in that cave over there, real estate, and
Are
like you
you?
had a house and a
Yeah.
boat, a yacht. You could just live on that yacht, and it's
Like,
nicer than this
like why?
kryptonite land.
The
I don't.
idea of him like being able to grow advanced crystal weapons or whatever, that's all good and fine. You would have made a fortune just doing that, and you could keep your yard. Like, what is this really doing for you? Also, you went out to some sort of poster store and had the 5 stages of this made and installed on a hearth frame on your boat. Who are you presenting this to? Lois wasn't supposed to be here. Soups wasn't supposed to be around until you finished the island. Who was that for? That was for us. But that's weird.
That's for us.
I do like when he realizes, when he's told that the one goon was killed by the piano, how he like freaks out in the face. That's cool. That's a fun moment.
That scene is actually like pretty good all around because even the goon standing there is like, we just lost a guy, and you can tell that he's like a little bit sad and a little bit terrified at the same time. He's like, this was watching a kid and his mother, and a whole piano flew into this guy and brutally killed him. I don't know what we're dealing with here. And Lex's reaction does not help.
Yeah.
So it's a good scene. Attention to detail is nice there, whereas it is not so much with the kryptonite. I will say I do really like that Superman crashes back down unconscious and the whole city sort of like does its thing and like helps save Superman. They're able to get the bit of kryptonite that's still in him out, and that's enough to like take care of him in the hospital. I felt like that was a pretty good scene. And I'm willing to take some small logical issues to get there, but they should have taken a look at that final scene, that fight scene, the climax of the story. They should have looked at that a little bit harder, I think, because it doesn't really make that much sense. Like, even the moment where Kitty drops the crystals and it's supposed to be like her moment of rebellion, the crystals react when exposed to water.
Yeah, but now they're in space, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but like, to her knowledge, I thought it was collapsing. I thought it was going to go in the water. It was an earthquake.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And like, she's like, my best thing to do is get these out of Lex's hands, which, fair. But she watched them experiment. She knows that if they go in the water, they create large land masses. And she leaves them on a freshly created island that is having an earthquake surrounded by water.
She's not around for her brains.
And I suppose.
Yeah. Speaking of those crystals, though, I think it's weird when Superman realizes they're gone. Because it just says that he hasn't been to the fortress in who knows how long, even though he's got a new suit, and that's the only place he could have received a new suit.
Good point.
So, I take minor issue
I find
with
it
this.
weird the crystals are terraforming. I find that strange.
Like all of them? Like, yeah, it's a little...
Yeah.
The one
They're
that he
supposed
had
to be
in the
data
first
chips.
movie. Yeah, the one he had in the first movie that was like a housing unit to create the Fortress of Solitude and all that. That's fine. Get that. That's like a, a fort building thing. All of these crystals being the collective knowledge of Krypton and all that, and all of them, if exposed to water like gremlins, they just blow up. That's a strange choice. That's a very strange choice. Yeah. Because what are the rules we're setting here? Because why do these crystals do that? Can kryptonite not just do that by itself?
I think it would have been way smarter if we went the angle of Lex Luthor wants to create weapons in this film. And I know that Weapons Lex didn't work out great with Nuclear Man. Yeah. But Lex Luthor is a capitalist warmonger, essentially, right? Because if there's profit to be made, he'll make it. Now, to be fair to Lex Luthor, he's also someone who would create peace if that's where he found the profit, but he chases profit, and there's profit to be had in warmongering, especially if you create new weapons of mass destruction and you're willing to sell them. So if you know that Superman comes from a race of hyper advanced aliens with impressive abilities, and you know that there is a treasure trove of information stored in these crystals. I thought he was going to get the information off the crystals somehow and manipulate or abuse that information.
Sure.
I wasn't sure what he was going to do, but then it ends up being just as simple as if we chop them up into bits and drop them in water, it creates land masses, which is of course the thing that we want because real estate, even though it's a horrible looking island.
Yeah. It's gross.
I don't know. Even though the characters are more on point, I feel like in this, well, not all of them. Even though Lex is more on point in this film than I feel like he has been in the rest of the other films. The actual like goal that he wants to achieve, it doesn't really make sense for Lex Luthor. It's too brute force for Lex Luthor.
Sure.
But I'm beginning to notice that we've literally never seen a Lex Luthor done right in Superman films.
Never.
So maybe it's just harder to do than I would expect.
By the time this has come out, we have seen the new Superman, so maybe it's been done right now. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, we're almost at our time. Talked about a lot. Yeah, no, there's a lot to talk about. Real quick, I don't like the suit. We're in the midst of the superheroes wear weird dark leather era. It's not working for Superman. I don't like it. I don't like the boots. I don't like the cape being that dark red. I don't. So look, we now have 3 live-action Superman examples, not including the CW, where Supes is wearing the briefs. This is the worst one. They're too tight and they're too small. Because the point of the briefs is to look like circus strongmen. They're supposed to be kind of bigger and to be a little more modest. This looks like he's wearing a Speedo. It's not. It's like the same level of tight as the rest of the suit, if not sometimes looking almost tighter. It looks like an Olympic swimmer. I don't like it. It's weird. I don't like it.
I didn't pay that much attention, but okay.
I love super suits, so I pay attention to said things. It's a strange choice.
Yeah, no, it's good. And like, again, kind of in their defense, like Lex Luthor apparently, briefs over an outfit, that's hard to pull off, but...
Yeah, but like,
they've done
did it
better.
Fine, and then Roth, in the CW, Roth suit is better, and Corn Sweat suit already, that, like, it's better, like... I think they were going for that weird combo of let's make it real by making it leather and dark. And it has to be a superhero, so it's blue and yellow and has a logo on it. But then, like, you know, superhero suits are kind of like athletic wear. So I think there might have been an intentional choice to make it look like Olympic swimming gear. But that's the wrong choice. It's the wrong choice. It's very much the wrong choice. In general, though, I would say, though, just by the skin of its teeth, it's a C+. And so for me, it's a whale. Because I shit on it for an hour. There are things I do enjoy about this. I like Brandon as Superman. I love
invested.
Yeah. I love the line.
You know, I saw the flaws as they were happening, but I was still, like, I wanted to know what was going on. Right. I cared about the characters.
Yeah. This is a film that I find I'm a little more disappointed in, less... I'm angry or mad or pissed off about certain things. Like, I know you can do better. I just want you to do better. And, you know, so I gave it I love the line, and we'll talk about it more next week. You wrote that the world doesn't need a savior, but every day I hear people crying for one. That line by itself should have prevented what Snyder ended up doing with Superman. I'll expound next week. But as it is...
Well, and... that moment might honestly be a great moment to sort of sum up the whole film, because that moment should be a perfect shiny moment for Superman's character to come through, but he's also kind of taking advantage of his abilities to impress a girl he knows is taken. Yep. So, like, I feel like that perfectly sums up the film, and the fact that they like know what they should be doing and yet got so distracted with this weird love triangle thing that they're doing that they kind of force him just slightly out of character through most of the film. And that's kind of what the whole film is like. They really did get it for most of it.
Mm-hmm.
But then the little things they just didn't bother to polish up or clean up kind of knock it to the side.
Yeah. It's weird. It's unfortunate. But that's our time. Would you say it's a whale or not a whale?
I think it's a whale for me.
I think it's a whale. Man, we'll give it a whale. It's so far.
At least the first time watching, I was invested the whole time.
I would say I still like watching this over Superman 2. Just because of how like they might be comparable in how dumb they are, both Supermen, because like they've got the.
I would watch Superman 2 again though. Like I would watch it again. Funny.
I just yeah. Anyway, that's Superman Returns. We're doing Man of Steel next week. This is definitely our most disjointed marathon because I did not know until watching and then reading again to confirm that this is not actually a part of the last series.
Right.
I thought Man of Steel was our nice little tacked on stepchild.
But I feel like
this is actually a half.
We're really watching this kind of, we're the weird biological son of a guy who we don't know the actual name of. Anyway, but I feel like because we were probably going to make this franchise watch eventually anyway, but we're kind of watching this whole franchise because we're getting ready for Gunn's Superman, right? And I feel like having watched this one and Man of Steel, which we kind of added on last minute, I feel like that actually is really good for preparing for James Superman, because it's going to tell us like basically the whole portfolio of movies that he could work with. What did he choose to take and what did he choose to leave, right?
Yeah.
And I'm really hoping for some of these moments to make a callback. Like, if there's not it's a bird, it's a plane joke, is it really a Superman film?
I'm okay if they don't do that. I think they worked it into this pretty well. I'm okay if they don't do that again. Because okay, we're done. We'll talk about it later. That's it. That's us. Bye.
Bye.